Good evening. I'm just coming for a quick check-in, an update. I've been busy out. I'm actually excited to be on here because I was having so many technological problems and problems with my banking and that sort of thing, where my subscription to StreamYard was canceled. I had funds in the account, but there was like nothing wrong with the card. So even when you get cash, you can't spend cash online to take care of things. So I'm grateful to have this connection with the people. Whoever may come see this, hopefully will be uplifted. This is a time of change, and I'm excited. So in the Washington metropolitan area, I will say things are rarely as they seem. So I just wanted to say that I am committed to doing my part to make things better. And one thing I would like to say, if you're in the DC area and you're just kind of off put by some of the things that are happening, your neighbors and your friends, your loved ones are getting laid off and that sort of thing, there is something that you can do. We have to learn, and we can use our pen. So we have to help those who are in crisis because they're not likely always able to stand up for themselves. So there are times when you stand up for people and they cannot stand up for themselves. I'm working on getting free myself, but part of my freedom journey is to share some things with folk. So I saw that on Roland Martin just a couple of days ago that there was a sign. I don't know what they had named this area in DC, but it was like the Black Lives Matter mural or something like that. And so someone from Congress said, I want to change it to, that area to be changed to Liberty Plaza. So I know a lot of people came out against changing the name, and they were very critical of Muriel Bowser for saying, hey, I'll change the name. Let's just talk about these jobs, right? So I just want to say that I support Muriel Bowser in knowing what really matters. And as one who is committed to making competent claim on this estate and guiding government, and knowing that it is our responsibility, the people, particularly the people who are indigenous to North America, right? It is our responsibility to support government. And when I say support government, I don't mean just follow the things that they do, but to guide them, to instruct them until we are fully able to be in the de jour. But when you look at historically how we governed ourselves, right? Life was not government, right? Our families, our immediate tribes, that's how we learn how to govern ourselves, right? But as the world changed in colonialism and what have you, it looks different. But even in school, we were never taught in school, follow the government. No, we're taught that here's the rules, here are the laws, and just follow them and stay out of their grips. But the way it's evolved and is being interpreted now is that the citizens and nationals and their various people in their various capacity are being governed. But that's not how the people see it, right? And even on the collegiate level, learning about government, all the literature, all the books popularly circulated, it really teaches and you're instructed on how it is that government runs the various affairs around you. So how they make sure that the streets are taken care of, transportation, even let's say a transportation system. You might learn some micro level information on how transportation system works, but the whole ideology behind it, even homelessness and housing programs, the government gives just enough so that you'll be motivated to work, right? They're not just going to say free housing for everyone, because then who's going to be motivated to work and do a good job? And a lot of the things that are considered government programs, government welfare programs, they're stigmatized, right? So a lot of people, I had an argument about this with somebody, but if you understand that, there's a class I took called social welfare, right? And it helped us to really look at what is social welfare and what is not, right? So it's something where if it's given and it makes society better, it makes society function. So for instance, a lot of people do not look at bankruptcy as a social welfare program. It is a social welfare program. So I'll be darned if someone on food stamps gets shamed, and then someone who uses bankruptcy as a means to manage their companies, they're not shamed. Now, do I think that either one should be shamed? No, I don't. No, I don't, because I understand society. I understand a civilized society, right? And I also understand even, let's say, unemployment insurance, right? You must have unemployment insurance. Why? Because if all those people who were on unemployment decided they wanted to go get a job, there would not be enough jobs to employ them. See, so this is a means of maintaining a civilized society, is having certain programs. Now, what I know is that we are wealthy people, and I know that we will all benefit from learning how to live off of our estates. But I also know that there are people who don't want us to live off of our estates. They rather just sit in fear and control. All right. So, like I said, the fact that I'm here and posting this is a little bit encouraging to me. The fact that I'm able to share and speak on this. But we will come together as a people. We will. When I say that, I mean in a people indigenous to North America, right? As it is known by many of us, that's who we are. We're not going to argue about whether you want to be called a Moor or Indigenous, American Indian, Niji, whatever you want to be called is not going to be a barrier for us coming together. I have ideas on what that looks like and how that works. But I am committed to doing that. I'm committed to sharing my ideas and getting it hot and popping. All right. So I just want to say back to Muriel Bowser and her agreeing quickly to change the name of the plaza, to change the artwork, because she wants to work in truth. I suspect, I don't have a personal relationship with her, but walking in truth is what we all need to do right now. Obama told you, Black has no standing in law. So do people matter? Do the original indigenous people matter? Yes, we do. Do Black with no standing, people in the status, using the status of Black, they have no standing. Their status is Black. Their status is dead in law. So do they matter? In that status, no, they don't. So it's sometimes hard for people to conceptualize what is going on in others' minds. But they're telling you, I'm telling you, what other people mean. And it's not what you think it means. It means what the communicator is trying to tell you it means. All right. No, Black lives do not matter. And I didn't say the people don't matter. When the people accept the label and the status of Black, they don't matter. Look at that SF 171 and look all the people types. All the people types. Only one type is not a people type. Okay. Now, if I offend you because you came from Blackland and you know that you matter because you came from Blackland, well, then I get you your funds. I apologize. Sue me. But I don't think you came from Blackland. I don't think that Black is a nationality. All right. So the other thing that that comes to mind is our need to defer judgment instead of being so quick to say, "Oh, you didn't do what I mean." It's okay to even ask. You know, did anybody write the mayor and say, "Hey, why did you so quickly do that?" She probably would have had somebody respond. I don't know. But to villainize somebody who seems to have your back to a certain degree, as much as any other politician is going to have your back, slow down a second. All right. Because the issue is that the most important thing right now is safety. And the instability that come about with a breakdown of the federal government is not acceptable. All right. So we want a strong federal government. Do we want a federal government that keeps the laws? Yes. Do we want a federal government that is constitutional? Yes. And this is the focus that we will have over the next few days. That's my focus over the next few days, is indemnifying the U.S. Congress and indemnifying them to make proper decisions. That's how we make a change, not just sitting back and complaining about it. All right. And the other part of this is the layoffs. I saw Congresswoman from Georgia talked about, the federal workers aren't doing anything. They don't need their jobs. Well, the issue is that if they don't have anything to do, it's because they were not assigned anything to do. And it's Congress' responsibility to set the agenda and to make the assignments to the departments. And then from the departments, the department secretaries, they assign the workers things to do. And things are messed up enough on the local level that they should have plenty to do. Plenty to do. U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD, if they were doing what they were supposed to be doing, there would be no foreclosure crisis. There would be no homeless crisis. It just wouldn't be, because it's a circuit. The energy flows from the counting of the people up and into the state level to the federal level, and it's a cycle. And then there are some funds that go back down to the state, then to the county. It's a cycle. And I'm going to be honest with you. I've studied and I've thought about it. I know how this economy works, and I know that everything is shifting, obviously. But even with this financial shift, that doesn't mean that we should do without things that are important, peace and liberty, and be spreading that to other folks. The president doesn't have time to acquire Greenland when we don't even have a constitutional government. Now, I understand that the U.S. corporation, the government is the government of the U.S. corporation. The U.S. government is the government of the U.S. corporation. And the corporation does have a mandate to operate in a constitutional manner. And I'll bring up Loper versus Raimundo. We don't just do things based on how we feel here. That's un-American. We don't do that. Why the Office of Personnel Management is not being used to facilitate some of the things that are being done by an outside contractor, breaking federal law, manipulating our culture. It's not good. But just for me to come and tell you it's not good, it's not going to affect things the way I want it to. But I just want to check in to say, hey, I see what's going on, and it is a crisis. And the crisis is the best opportunity for change. And so with that, I send love and I send fair greetings. I will return shortly. I will put our trust on the record and make our claim for a allodial title to the land with the purpose of improving the level of functioning and the purpose of us having a legacy that we can be proud of, everybody who is here right now at this space and time. So I'm glad to be able to communicate with you. I don't know how it is that I have StreamYard when before I couldn't. It was just like financially paralyzed with funds sitting in the account and no way to access them. But now I have something. I don't even know how this got through, but I'm grateful. And I'll be taking my steps to free myself so I can share and what needs to happen moving forth. And I just encourage everyone to ask themselves, what can I do? What don't I know that I need to know? When it comes to the serenity prayer, help me change things that I can change. Right? Give me the serenity to accept the things that I cannot change, and give me the wisdom to know the difference. So I do want to share one thing with you, because a lot of us, when it comes to civics, right, we weren't schooled on civics, and things are, like I say, they look much different than how they really are. We weren't schooled in civics. We might have had a government class, but we weren't really taught how to change things. And I know particularly in the Washington, D.C. area, some of us were conditioned for things to be kind of cushy. So why do you need to change anything? Okay, well, let's go. So how do we participate in government, right, without being like an elected official or anything like that? Do you think it works for us to just protest, for us to go out, hold picket signs, hold up traffic, or any of these ridiculous things that just make us look incompetent at law? All right. So I'm just going to read something that I got off of ChatGPT. I'm not ashamed that I asked ChatGPT some questions. Does it always give me the right answer? No, but sometimes it gives me information to help me help me frame things better, right? And I really appreciate it. And we need to use technology for good instead of people using technology only for evil, right? We need to use it to help us develop ideas. And we're not limited by just what ChatGPT would say, but let me just share this. Okay, so first of all, instead of me just focusing on the problem with the Black Lives Matter mural and why Muriel Bowser might be quick to take it down, other than the fact the word black, the label black, has no standing in law. Other than that, boom. Okay, the other piece, the other piece is maybe what people would want to be referred to as or what to be called. Now, when one has a passport, I am a U.S. passport holder, and it's as a U.S. national. I am correcting that soon because my chosen status is a non-citizen national. Okay. And I know I'm original and indigenous to this land. And I will put that in my statement. Does that matter? Yes, it matters. Or why would they tell you that you can put in an explanatory statement? Does it matter what numbers you put on there or don't put on there? Yes, it matters. That's one of the indicators to status change. And people who really frown upon getting a passport or whatever, it's a little bit hypocritical because the same people who are telling you don't get a passport or don't have a driver's license, you need something. They're not telling you what you need. And if they're just referring to a national identity card with a particular number, then that national identity card is tied in to all the instruments that allow you to still use it. Because if you have a national identity card and you have numbers that thousands of people are using, you cannot just like go open up a bank account with that national identity card number. They're going to want to know whether it be a social security number or something to go along with it. They're going to want to know something else in the public, what that is that goes along with the use of that national identity card. Now, the thing about it is I am speaking of the AA 222141 that is copyrighted. And when people say that that is like some BS or whatever like that, well, all I have to say about that is, and I'm not suggesting you use it wrongfully or whatever. I mean, it's out there in the public, the number or whatever. Most stores in the Maryland area, you make a purchase and you use that number. Even stores, when they tell you you can't use a number for XYZ, oh, we don't do that. Usually they do. When I say usually they do, I mean usually if you have the person take you to the screen where it accepts that type of number, which is a status number, yeah, it's accepted. And it comes up. It comes up as a North American government. It just does. I'm talking about chain stores. And the little small stores, they'll just put it in anyway, whatever they use on their computer. But I'm talking about large, nationally present chain stores. I'm not trying to quote you going to do it. My point is people who criticize that and say it's nothing. That's actually just not correct in reality. And certain things we're not going to know until we actually test them one way or another. And so we must defer our judgment. You can say it doesn't sound right, but unless you tried to do it or you didn't do it, then let's not be critical. How does that transfer to many people? Well, for me, it's not the right number to use. It's not appropriate for me to use. That's not the nationality that I'm moving through the world in. The religious connotation is why. And I'm returning to Mother and Soul Tribe. And that looked all sorts of ways. I do recognize my right and my responsibility as a woman indigenous to the land, but I want to walk in truth fully. So that means what we're to acquire numbers. It's not some special number that like only someone else can have and you can't have it. We need to think creatively and be responsible and organized and stand up against the pushback to being our true selves, right? And have our own numbers where we can navigate through commerce properly with abundance and also take responsibility, work together, teamwork. Okay. So maybe going around a circle a little bit, but I'm going to read to you how to move Congress. How to move Congress. I did ask ChatGPT, how do you move US Congress? Now, no, maybe I didn't vote them in, those people. I'm not ashamed to say why I don't. And some people choose to be electors or whatever. But when you know in history that we are supposed to be government, we have to choose. We have to, we can't always be two places at one time, right? And you don't want to be double-minded. So when I started to understand how things were over the last couple of years and reading history, and knowing that we're supposed to stand up and be de jure government, right? This is an opportunity for us to learn. So I asked ChatGPT, how do I affect those folks who are hired to provide governmental service or were elected and then they get compensated for it? So just because they're not necessarily my government, the Congress is in the role of the government of the U.S. corporation. The U.S. corporation provides protection on these lands, right? And just because the going is getting tough, it doesn't mean that they are excused from their constitutional duty and the privilege of really serving those who have come here to these lands for a better life, colonialism, and some more. All right. So another thing in March 30, 2023, when the Pope repudiated the doctrine of discovery, it is an opportunity and a responsibility and a duty for us to learn how to be responsible and accept our estate, right? It's a lot of learning. So the question I ask is, how do I, enforce this? Do I just write a letter to not my congressman, but the congressperson over the U.S. corporation to say, hey, that 702 targeting, that's unconstitutional, and you're pressing to get it put on the books. Do you know that is treason? Do you know you're putting yourself at risk to be called and held responsible for something? Now, you might be in the seat of government now, but one day you won't be. So do you want to be called for treason? Or, this is my thought. Like, why would they do things here in this age of enlightenment and awakening? Everybody can see what they're doing. Why would you be promoting policies that are genocide to others? Why would you do that? I find that interesting even to right now. So I said, well, let me find out what I'm supposed to do. So let me just share with you what ChatGPT told me. All right. So while being part of the people, it requires understanding the structure of power and influence. While the U.S. Congress is elected to represent the people, now I don't think they were elected to represent me necessarily in my proper person. I don't think so when I read history, but it's okay. But in practice, it operates within a system of laws, procedures, financial influences, and external pressures that shape its decision. Here's how control or influence can be exercised. So first, legal and jurisdictional control. Yes, sovereign status and jurisdiction. If one operates outside U.S. corporate jurisdiction, one can assert legal standing superior to corporate U.S. governance. Yes. Let me just give an example. It says indigenous sovereignty framework or a trust structure, because we do know that the United States of America Trust exist. There's a United States of America Trust. That's the land and soil jurisdiction in the context of you see the postal trucks with no license on it because they're operating outside that postal union trust. And the seat of that is in Switzerland. And it's not to be abandoned. And that's what I'm talking about when it comes to sharing with the U.S. corporate service providers our insight on how to fix things, because it's not okay how the post office is, and they really do need some help. And so I can't just talk about it. I got to do it. It's a lot. But I no, it's not just for me to do. It's for other people to get on board and start to be creative. That's why I'm sharing a little bit of my process when it comes to gathering information on how to make things move. All right. So that was 1A. And what would be B is allodial claims and land jurisdiction. If Congress operates under corporate governance and its authority is based on statutory law rather than original sovereignty, then asserting a superior jurisdiction over land and governance can challenge congressional authority. And that is what is the case. Okay. When the lands were pretty much given back to the original indigenous people, that the breakdown and the connection is that Black people marching, rolling, falling on the street, being sponsored by people who look nothing like them, who do not share their religious background, their culture, their origin. They're sponsoring people to call themselves Black, disinherit themselves, to hold up traffic and cause controversy. Okay. That's the way I see it, because you're supposed to follow the money to anything. If you follow the money to that, it would make you wonder, well, why do they want me to be outraged and go out and fall out on the street? Like, is that an effective way to invoke change? No, that's not an evidence-based practice on how to really change anything. And in honor of Martin Luther King Jr., who I really respected, you saw what happened. You saw that what he stood for was important, but he started to realize, like, me gathering people together and moving in that way isn't right. But see, it's a different time now. And I do call a cease and desist to those who try to justify claims not coming in the way that they think they should come. Because if someone doesn't make a competent claim, it doesn't make them not deserving of their human rights. See, that's that religious construct, part of that construct that was to die with the doctrine of discovery, with this age of enlightenment, acknowledgement, and Aquarian season that we are, in which we are. Never end a sentence with a proposition, Okay. All right. So allodial claims. Do people understand what allodial claim is? Because I did just read that. But allodial claim is a claim that is made amongst a people. It's made amongst a nation. It's a common law claim. And so when an individual claims a loyal title to land, its title is a bundle of rights in the land to have, hold, possess, lease, rent, whatever have you, right? These claims are made as a people, because when you make them individually, you may or may not be able to enforce them. But historically in law, they're made by a people or a nation in a sense of governance to state a claim. So, who has the right to make that claim? The original indigenous people on whatever lands they are. So, seeing that this is not Blackland, then the blacks who are considered to be stock would not be able to make a competent claim. So there that goes again. And I'm sure Muriel Bowser knows that. And so she's like, okay, whatever, stop it. People need work. And what they're doing, Elon and Donald J. Trump, what they're doing, they can really only do with our consent, our silent acquiescence. I don't consent, and I do intend to make competent claim with other competent people. All right. Okay, so back again, it's stating with control, right, is asserting its superior jurisdiction because people have superior jurisdiction over a corporation. All right. Constitutional and equity law challenges. This is C of part 1. 1 is legal and jurisdictional control. And then constitutional and equity law challenges using organic laws. Now, I don't know. I don't remember too much reading the Declaration of Independence, but you need to read the Declaration of Independence. I'm going to need you to read it, whether it's for you or not. Read it. Articles of Confederation. That was before the Declaration. That was actually before the Constitution. That's ours. That's part of our indigenous governance systems. The Constitution, the U.S. Constitution for the United States of America, and you would want to know which one is being operated or not being followed now. So there's some politicians that will say, oh, no, we're not. Why? Because they're more in the statutory and the equity side. Neither here nor there, that doesn't mean that they're not to be held to a particular covenant or contract. But the other thing, I'm going to read this because I haven't read this myself, I admit, and I need to read it, which is the Northwest Ordinance. But these are organic laws on these lands. And when the lands were given back, it doesn't mean just everything just doesn't exist. Okay. And you know what will always be? Natural law will always be, and equity will always be. And these are higher forms of law than the codes and statutes. Okay. And so when the codes and statutes don't fit a situation, there's always equity. It's a body of law called equity, and we must learn that, okay? And once we know who we are and what we're entitled to and what we're responsible to invoke, it'll be beautiful, all right? So I'm on that path, and I'm sharing what I'm learning as I go, okay? So once we understand this, we can force compliance or exposure of unlawful governance. Yes, it's definitely unlawful to tell people something that's not true and expect us to ever have peace on the lands. So I'm speaking general, but a lot of things we're being told that's not true, and that's not acceptable. All right, so controlling congressional actions through financial mechanisms, debt leverage, right? The U.S. Congress operates largely on debt, controlling who underwrites the debt, whether it be the Federal Reserve, the international banks, private trusts, or sovereign entities. It gives leverage over policymaking. Very interesting. Indemnification and surety control. So, as an indigenous people, that's who I am. I know my right and I know my responsibility, right? Operating in trust, we can assume an indemnification role, which is a financial support role for Congress, not for Congress to do whatever they want to do. They actually need a new style of deciding what's happening. I want an analysis of how much time is wasted on, no, it's not your turn, yield, this, that. That's not modern meeting strategy. And it's tradition, okay? But we give them permission to move into something else that is evidence-based, that is productive, because imagine whenever you're in a role, you want to feel really good at the end of the day about what you did. And for them to feel like they have to hold a tradition is not effective, is something that we want to move through. We want to correct that. That's what I talk about when I say support them. That's what I mean. I think it's supportive to say, hey, you don't have to do that. It's actually wrong. I recognize myself. Well, we're living, so you don't have to sit in there with this I recognize myself type of dead administration of a dead estate when we're living people, okay? And until there is something else, they will stay and they will do a good job. And the ones who don't want to do a good job can register and leave. Leave, cleave or leave, cleave or leave, cleave or leave. It's not insulting. Cleave or leave. Order. All right? Not cleave and leave. And then don't be responsible after you ripped us off. I mean, because not everyone's trying to do that, but a lot of them do. And you can tell the difference with how they even approach their problem solving. All right? So, I was watching, and Jasmine Crockett was saying if she came into a big, she was saying this on the Breakfast Club, if she came into a big whirlwind, she would, leave here and then come back here. She said, why? Why? Just structure your trust in a way that you don't have to do that. You can structure your trust, right? That's what you think Donald J. Trump isn't making any money while he's there. I'm not saying he's doing anything unethical, because if he's doing right, well, which he's not doing right. But what I'm saying is if he's not doing anything illegal as it relates to the trust, how he uses trusts, then that's his business. When I say he's not doing right, it's not right to traumatize the American people. It's not right to traumatize people who you're saying are not working enough, but you didn't give them any work. And there's a lot of work to do. And they do have programs in the U.S. corporation where you transfer people around. Why do I speak on this? Someone said, well, why would you speak on something if that's not your government? Because they manage the services that I am dependent upon in my society. And my society is going to be a civilized society. Controlling congressional actions through financial mechanisms. So debt leverage. The U.S. Congress operates largely on debt. Oh, so I already read that one. Talking about indemnification, which is like kind of like insuring. Okay. Direct political influence, petitioning, and legislative pressure. Well, I already told you what I thought about that. I'm not trying to say don't do it, but this is not a time for games. Holding officials accountable if Congress or any of its members violate their constitutional oaths. Administrative and legal claims can be used to force compliance or removal. So let me just give you an example of a administrative and a legal claim, like a mandamus, a writ mandamus, injunction, or UCC, Uniform Commercial Code-based enforcement. Now, did I take out a writ mandamus on our public officials? Yes. But did I know what to do? No. And I worked to have a forgiving heart because I'm not going to call, well, I know who I received a consultation from, and I know that that person was being guided to not give me what I needed. And in my world and the professionals that are licensed that are so evil, when we go about something, you start out with one purpose and then you don't switch stuff in the middle, right? That's not respectable. To say you're going to give somebody a certain amount of service and then you don't give it to them, it's not really just the giving them their money back that makes it right? Because you probably can't make it right with that mentality. Oh, well, it would be part of the fraud if I, told you what to do next or helped you do it. I don't want you to be part of the fraud. Well, then why did you take my money for a consultation? My moon energy money, U.S. lawful dollars. It's money too. All right. I'm going to do a paper, share a paper that I pulled up on the importance of using proper words. We want to come out of this like saying there is no money just because, there is some reliance on gold, even with our system that we have now. I won't get into that. Anyway, administrative and legal claims, a mandamus, injunction, or UCC-based enforcement. So I know that, the judgment I had was for equivalent to 20-something million in gold. Had I done it different? No, in silver. Had I done it different, I would have made it more. I'm where I have it. They're where I have it. And it's in regards to the unlawful operation of the Board of Social Work Examiners in the state of Maryland. Okay? And it is my duty to let people know. And it's actually my duty now that I'm becoming more competent in this body of knowledge and information to shape government. If we know that we are abandoning our birthright, walking around homeless, acting like we're broke, but we're really not broke because someone withheld information, right? And at the same time, the power that be is trying to quote allegedly save monies, which is that's not how you do that. Then I could say there's an opportunity to do things different. And I could say all day, I'm committed to it, but I rather show you because I can show you better than I can tell you. Okay. Anyway, strategic candidate placement. That is a way to direct political influence. I don't know that I would be involved in that because that's not a jurisdiction where I'm not able to put in a vote based on my status right now because there's something else. Basically, I already shared that I don't accept the status of U.S. citizen. I'm a national, right? So I'm not a green card holder. But I do think that the U.S. government of the U.S. corporation, that it is my responsibility to help shape things and the level of functioning here on what we call Turtle Island. All right. So, yes, we can use media. That's another aspect. Of course, we want to use mass media because mass media, what is this now that I'm coming to you on mass media? Now, is there more larger platforms that would be appropriate? Of course. But that is something that you want to think about, that you want to know, that you want to be able to use and step into to help shift the direction of governance. So, reframing sovereignty and governance as the last point on number 4. Basically, if the majority of people recognize Congress as a corporate entity rather than a de jure government, there's a shift. That is a paraphrase of what I choose to share right now. As people tend to just want to sit back and blame them. Oh, they're ridiculous. That's the government of the corporation. And we need lands where the food is clean, where the water is fresh, the air is clean air. We don't have to do any research studies. There are a lot of research studies already done that tell you exactly how the choices that we are making affect our health. So we don't need any more research studies. We can research each department chief going down their programs and writing down which one of the programs are constitutional and can be maintained, and which of them cannot be maintained because they're not constitutional, because they interfere with people's privacy. They interfere with their right to be happy, their human rights violations. That's where the change comes from the Department of Health and Human Service. Okay. But I know that is not coming with an official injunction. That is not coming today with a UCC claim or liens. But that doesn't mean that it's not going to come like that. That's how it needs to be. Because other than that, I guess people don't listen. And it's also coming with some prayers for our healing into what is right. So, cleave or leave. Reframing. Okay. Number 5, international leverage right. Well, isn't that convenient that the U.S. is not a part of the UN anymore? That's not acceptable. It's to restore and transfer. Restore and transfer. And to break down the order that is here. It's not good. All right. So, this is another theme, and it just rings true about asserting our indigenous and our international rights, right? Our indigenous and our international rights. I'm committed to doing that, and doing so in a diplomatic manner, right? So human rights and land restitution all together, it's all one. And we do hold Congress accountable, and we are an international people, all right? And there are responsibilities to uphold the treaties. And there are more treaties than just the Treaty of Marrakesh, right? human rights treaties, The Hague, or what have you. And just to pull, in fact, when one pulls the U.S. out, that's the U.S. corporation. That doesn't necessarily relieve the United States of America trust. It doesn't. So I don't know if people recognize how much people are just making up different processes as far as their responsibility to the people. Okay, and I understand maybe there are pressures on them, but Elon Musk sounded like a sovereign citizen when he said there's no Department of Education. Finish the sentence. The sentence is the Department of Education exists in name only. I've heard that, but that's not even the full truth, now is it? Because there is an exchange of energies that goes out from there, right? People's lives are being severely challenged. I'm not going to say ruined, because we are a resilient people, but it is not okay to traumatize us like that. Even me, I don't work for the federal government. However, seeing people suffer like that is called vicarious trauma. Okay. And it's not okay to come over here and do that. And it's only 1% of the budget. And the priority is safety. So how come we're not cutting back all the... Uh-oh. Shh. I'm recording.
Okay. Go ahead. Come finish me. Come on, Zoe.
Well, I'm going to say goodbye because they're visitors. And so I got pretty much to the end, and I just want to share some things. And I know people are being creative because I'm hearing people talk about things like, I guess I'm not the only one that noticed, especially looking for a soul tribe and the rise of the matriarchy. It's not about women ruling anything. That's not what the matriarchy is. It's not. It's about being in truth and knowing that it is the women who had, through the airship, HER, her airship, right? So it's our responsibility. All right. And so that's what's up. Be well.